Hey gamers, Maniac here with GameAccess.net doing a very quick 3DS specific review. This is the Nintendo 3DS XL. You've seen me use it a lot in my previous site videos. I honestly love the thing. It's got a lot of great features to it. It plays 3DS and DS games, has cool online capabilities, Wi-Fi, cool features, cool mini games, that sort of stuff. So I happen to like this, but there's a problem that people didn't like about this design, and that is twofold. When they updated the Nintendo 3DS design, people basically asked, and I'm going to show you, well, where's the second analog stick? Nowadays we use two analog sticks for most of our devices. Even the PS Vita brought in a second analog stick after the PSP only had one. So when they did the refreshed design for the XL, there still was no second analog stick, even though a expansion had been released in the form of the CirclePad Pro for the original model 3DS, which could allow second analog stick for certain games that supported it. The problem was that the CirclePad Pro had some issues with it itself. The 3DS XL model is incompatible with that original model CirclePad Pro. So if you see a CirclePad Pro in stores like GameStop and you have a 3DS XL and not a normal 3DS, your CirclePad Pro won't work. They're incompatible because they're not the right size. However, Nintendo has finally released an updated CirclePad Pro for the 3DS XL. And this is it right here. Take a look at this. It's custom fit specifically to the 3DS XL. It has the features of the original CirclePad Pro, but you can only get this through Nintendo's Parts and Supplies warehouse. You can't find this in stores, at least not in the US. I've seen a few comments on some of my earlier videos, particularly my 3DS videos, where people have disagreed with me on certain things, when in fact, I guess I just wasn't explaining that this is US. You know, this is how you can get these things in the US. I'm shooting these videos from the US. So it might be different in your territory. If you live in Europe or Japan or something like that, you might be easier able to get one of these. But in the US, these are not being sold at retail. These are only being sold on Nintendo's Parts and Supplies warehouse. Kind of similar to this. This is a docking cradle for the 3DS XL, custom to the 3DS XL, and this could only be gotten on the Parts and Supplies warehouse as well. But in the US, I was told that, internationally, I was told that there were places you can get this at retail. So, what do you say we talk about this a little bit, because this is why you're here. As you can see, it's got some interesting things, but this basically retails right now for about $25 on Nintendo's Parts and Supplies warehouse. You get it directly from Nintendo. Let's talk about, well, what this thing is. I mean, first off, let's face it, this thing is huge. One of the reasons why I liked the 3DS XL docking cradle is because it's very slim, it's very small. I like that. It fits this perfectly, you know. You just let it in and boom, you've got yourself a charging dock. I liked how streamlined this was, how small this is. It was custom to this particular thing. This is one big bulky thing. How does it work? Well, let's just talk about really quickly, while I got this backwards, how does this thing work? It has its own battery slot right here. I believe it takes a AAA battery, a single one. You unscrew this little lid and you pop the battery in there, and it runs off of its own battery power. It is not powered by the device itself, which is not, you know, that's kind of a bit of a strike against it. The way it gets its range of motion is not through any type of wireless signal, but actually the little I don't know if you can see this too well, but right here, right below here is the infrared port, which uses the exact same infrared port right here, which you can see here. That's how they communicate back and forth with each other. This thing uses the infrared port, and this thing is connected by the infrared port. That's how signal is transmitted. There's nothing in the back that extends the infrared port, so if you're using a CirclePad Pro device, then you can't have a program that makes use of the infrared port. So immediately, how do I put this? When you want to get something like this, you want two things. One, you want to basically keep it connected to this. You want to be able to keep them as one. And in this case, you really can't. This kind of design only really functions well under temporary conditions. It's a temporary fix for just playing certain games. Kind of like how the Wii Motion Plus accessory was before it was finally integrated into the Wiimote. It's not something you'd want to keep connected to the device all the time. And I'll tell you for a few reasons. One, well, let's say, for example, let's get this in. Let's show you how this thing works. You stick it in like this. And it's held in place by rubber stoppers. So what you do is you squeeze forward, and then you just kind of rest it down. And that's how it ends up in. So this is basically what the final version of it will look like. Immediately you're going to ask yourself, well, how well is this thing staying in place? Can this thing fall out? Well, the rubber stoppers are pretty good at holding the thing in place, but there's no locking mechanism to really lock this thing down. I think that if they did have such a thing, it might damage the casing or something like that. So that's probably why they stuck with rubber stoppers. The second thing you're going to notice is, I was actually worried, will I have a full range of motion with this thing? And actually I will. As you can see here, it actually does line up pretty well. You can actually hold it. Here, let me give you a size comparison here. This is a 3DS XL. As you can see how much expanded and how much bulkier it is now with the Circle Pad Pro. It's still smaller than a Wii U controller, but it's still pretty big. The way this is designed now, it can't fit into any cases. I mean, that's one thing I liked about the 3DS XL. It was still small enough to fit in these bags and fit in a pocket. With the redesign with the 3DS Circle Pad Pro, as you'll show you right here, it added some extra space here. As you can see here, you get two extra triggers. I'm sorry, you get two triggers here, and you get an extra trigger here. So, and you could probably still use these bumpers, but it's not as easy to get access to. You can still charge the 3DS XL from here, but as you can see here, because this thing is back here, you can't change you can't put discs in anymore. You can't take out or put in game carts, and that's another problem. So it adds a lot of bulk and a lot of weight to the thing, even though it does give you new functions and stuff like that. I honestly think this is the reason why Nintendo didn't decide to go this way in the redesign. If they had made this as one solid unit, the unit would have simply been too big and too bulky to even be portable anymore. And I think that's the reason why they've kind of gone against doing a second analog stick for the redesign. If you had a design like this with the second analog stick, it would just simply be too big. It wouldn't be able to be a portable device. It wouldn't even fit in your pocket that well. So, yeah, it's big, it's bulky, it's cool. It definitely will improve gameplay. I can't wait to actually play Metal Gear Solid 3D with this thing attached to it. There were other games that made use of the Circle Pad Pro or were compatible with the Circle Pad Pro, in particular Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, or Kingdom Hearts 3D if you will. But I was fine playing Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without a Circle Pad Pro. However, Metal Gear Solid 3, not so much. You'll really, I think if there's one game to get this thing for, it would be for Metal Gear 3D. I really couldn't play it. The controls, really, I couldn't play it that well without a second analog stick. I would have preferred the second analog, but that's just one game. The entire 3DS library, that's just one game. You would use this for, at least one I can think of. I've also seen Resident Evil: The Mercenaries, but I remember playing like games like Resident Evil 4 with just one analog stick back in the day. I can't imagine this adding that much depth to that. But you know what? I haven't played Mercenaries yet, so I really can't make that kind of comment. The other thing I want to notice is that it adds some new features, but I think it takes away too much to actually make this device worthwhile. It's great for adding value to one extra game, but it adds too much size, it adds too much bulk, it makes the unit too big to be portable, and it takes away the use of the infrared port, so you can't play games like, you can't use like the Pokewalker, for example, with it. It doesn't use the internal battery of the device, which means that it has to run on its own power source, which kind of negates the whole thing in the first place. It's cool, got really nice ergonomics. It fits really well. Here, I'll show you how I can hold it. You know, it fits really well into the hand. It doesn't have locking mechanisms in place, which kind of, you know, it makes me feel weird about using this for extended long periods of time with just the rubber stoppers holding this thing in place. But it's got a nice ergonomic. It's a step in the right direction. But really, if you have a 3DS XL, I would just simply say, unless you're playing Metal Gear Solid 3 religiously, you're not going to need to get this thing. And I'm going to also say this right now, this is probably the reason why Nintendo hasn't done a new version of the 3DS with this exclusively. Like, continuing to offer this as an option is more attractive than if they integrated this, because in all likelihood, if they had integrated this thing would no longer pass the pocket test or be able to fit into, you know, cases or protective stuff like this. I'm not going to be willing to take this thing anywhere with me because I'd be too concerned about, you know, dropping something and not being able to keep it in a case and not being able to take it anywhere. So it has some things going for it, but a lot against it. My recommendation is to, unless you're playing Metal Gear Solid 3, to just keep your 3DS XL the way it is. This is just a review of this particular version, not of the original. It's only 25 bucks, but honestly, I was much more happier paying 20 for this. You know, and this is just an optional charging station. I was really happy with this charging station and how it looks, and I use this thing all the time. But now, if this thing is connected, I can't use the charging station anymore, and just, I don't know. I'm not as happy with the purchase I made as I was with making a purchase for the charging station. So take for that what you will. Until next time, guys, this is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Over and out.